In 1973, there was a moment, a period, actually for the whole year, where Kiss was not in a good way. And then in 74, they put their first record out, and still maybe they weren't in a good way. But in 1970, we're going to talk about that today. And it is the Sausage Fest on Podcast Rock City. And we're going to talk about all of that today on Podcast Rock City Live. You know, sometimes you just hit the wrong button. So let's try again. What's up, everybody? Joe here from Podcast Rock City, and with me this week is Sonny Hollywood Pooney.
What's up, people? 3 out of 4 handsome men, and then Joey.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me. It's definitely me. And down there is the man, the myth, the legend, Joey Casada.
Why does Pooney look like a leprechaun tonight? What is he doing?
Oh, I got a bet out there on tonight's game, and I'm trying to put the mojo out.
Oh, and right there, if you guys don't know or have never met Brent, that's PRCBZ Brent. How you doing, Brent?
Or something like that. I'm doing great. Very glad to be back on Podcast Rock City.
Yes, Brent used to run our radio show with Sonny back when we had a radio show. Is that my dog's?
I think it's mine.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I have 2 as well. They're right behind Brent because Brent's at the house. And I messed up the beginning of the show. That's why we have Frederico, but he's out. So Frederico isn't here today, so I'm having to ruin the show for you guys. Sorry. Anyway, news. There is a little bit of news, so let's go ahead and just jump right to the news.
Podcast Rock City News.
I know. Have you guys seen this yet? The new Animalize collection?
Oh, dude, hideous.
I'm dying to see Pooney in the button-down Animalize cover T-shirt. I'm hearing that it's real leopard print, Pooney.
Wow. Let's, of course, go and take a look at it. Let's see if it'll let us.
Is it furry on the inside or just my hair? I need it to be like velvety on the inside.
Do they have the leopard print Speedo in my size?
Is there a Speedo, really? You could cut the bandana down in one.
Fold it over
into
a diaper.
Fingernail stickers.
I mean, I got it. This is where I go first. Now,
okay.
Is this Pop House? Is this their first venture into selling us something? If it is, they are completely failing right out of the gate.
Well, here's the thing. I don't mind anything that's Kiss. I like this T-shirt over here. I like this one is classic. It's classic. The Animalize T-shirt, the hoodie is purple. I guess that's cool. Here's my thing. The bag here, I at least appreciate the fact that they're venturing into something a little different. You know what I mean? It's not just the standard. The fingernails are a little different. Of course, it's not something I can use, except maybe on my toes. I don't know. I have long toenails, so I don't.
But I can make my own muscle shirt. What the hell I got to buy that one for?
Don't get me wrong. I love that they're doing stuff for Animalize. I like that they're acknowledging these errors, but I mean, some of this stuff, come on. Jesus Christ.
I do have to get that shirt. That shirt is too cool. I think it's sold out.
It could be better, but it's not the chips and dips nacho ball. You know, we have seen way worse.
You're right. And the okay, hold on. The shirt you want is the print button-up shirt, Sonny?
Yeah, of course. It's sold out, right?
It doesn't say that.
Click on it right now.
It's sold out in size double extra goofy.
No, it's pre-order. It's pre-order, limited edition, but they have it still.
How much is that shirt?
$65.
All right.
That's my cruise shirt right there.
That's not outrageous. Shit. It's not $165.
No, prices not that bad.
They have to be lower because everything else is expensive. If you want to buy it, you're gonna have to be at least compatible with. Like you could buy a button-up shirt at the store for $65, right?
Yeah, that's about. It's not way overpriced, right?
$10.
Oh shit!
Ask the guy from Kohl's.
Right.
Yeah. To do the commercial.
You gotta do $65.
But nothing with the album, meaning as far as demos, old, new tracks, and nothing like that, right?
Doesn't seem that way. It looks like it came with a poster.
Yeah.
And
if you want
the
music,
record.
You're out of luck.
$65, you could get a shirt, sexy time, and a shake.
Joe, I have to go.
Why am I as quickly as it began?
Yikes. Okay. Here's my thing. I want to make sure everybody that's watching, I want to say hello. Okay. There's a ton of you watching on YouTube and a ton of you watching on Facebook. This is what I need you to do. Please. If you haven't subscribed to the show yet, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done the heart thing or the bell thing or whatever to let you know when we're posting stuff, do that. And sit back and enjoy the show because you guys keep having your chat. This is what it's all about. You guys are here hanging out with us, and it's a lot of fun. And yes, I am wearing an AC/DC shirt today. It's blaspheme. But yeah, so that's pretty much the news. Have you guys seen anything else?
So I don't know if this is the full set list, but I'm going to give you the songs that Gene played in Finland last night.
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right. I don't know if this is a full set list, though. And I don't know if this is in order either. Weapons of Mass Destruction, War Machine, House of Pain. Now, he didn't do Van Halen's House of Pain. He actually tells a story that he discovered Van Halen. There was a demo of House of Pain. They didn't do that demo. They did a different song called House of Pain.
From Faster Pussycat?
So he did the demo last night. No, that's House of Shit. This is House of Pain. So this was the first time this has ever been done. So believe it or not. Then he did Are You Ready? I Love It Loud. Ace of Spades. Tishy sang it. Communication Breakdown. Parasite. Never in My Life. That it's not Mississippi Queen, is it? Never in My Life. What is that? Who is that by?
Is it, you mean Mountain?
Somebody.
Mountain.
Maybe
yeah,
Mountain.
Mountain.
Yeah. And then Shout It Out Loud and Rock and Roll All Night. It sounded, the files that I heard sounded good when Gene was singing. They didn't sound great when everybody else was singing. It's like the mics weren't all at the same level for the lead singer kind of thing. But Gene seemed to be having a good time and talked in the middle of almost every song and announced every song and called out Tishy for sleeping. You know,
did he really?
Yeah. Because he said something and he didn't need it da-da-da. And he's like, really? My drummer's sleeping.
So how many songs? You just named 11 songs, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
From my calculation, I count 6 of those 11 non-Gene, non-Kiss songs. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck is happening? Everyone's complaining about Ace's set. I don't like Ace doing all those Kiss songs either. Don't get me wrong. But I'll still take Ace doing Kiss songs over Mountain and an unreleased Van Halen demo. And God almighty, no songs from the solo album. No real classic other Gene songs. Oh, my God. Am I crazy? Do you guys agree with that, or
no?
You want to hear Weapons of Mass Destruction?
No,
I want to hear. I want to hear God of Thunder. Where's God? I don't need to hear War Machine or I Love It Loud because we heard all that. But God
or shout it out loud.
Yeah, God of Thunder is a staple.
And listen,
that
I get it.
Total,
Ace,
I'm sorry, that's a total does not care set list. That's just we're just going to do whatever we want, however we want to do it, and people paid, and they're coming just because it's Gene. And I don't know. It really, that's rough to me. That's real rough.
Ace is doing that stuff because Ace is trying to draw more people. He's trying to get bigger guarantees from casinos and whatnot. So I don't fault Ace for doing it. Would I rather him not do it? Absolutely. Yeah. But Gene cannot make the excuse, well, everyone's here to see the hits. You're not playing anything.
Yeah. Now let me be an antagonist here, though. I understand what you guys are saying. Do you think that do you really think that this is a I don't care thing, or do you think it's a mixture of I don't care and I just got off the road 4 years playing that same crap and I'd like to do something just different? Joey?
I think he wants to do something different, but there's an in between. How many Gene's Kiss songs or solo album songs has Gene not played on the End of the Road tour that he could easily dip into, right? How many Gene songs are on all those records, whether it's 80s Gene stuff that we've never seen live, or solo album Gene stuff, Tunnel of Love or something like that, or even just classic Gene stuff that he's not playing. Love Him and Leave Him and Killer from Creatures, or any, stuff like that. Why not at least mix some of those rare Kiss songs in there? If you're going to do songs that nobody knows anyway, you might as well do rare Kiss songs.
Right. Do you think, Sonny, that the first time they got together for rehearsal, Gene said, are there any songs that you guys all know already that you can sing?
I can't imagine that. He's got Brent and Tishy. Like, they can learn anything. That's not the issue. This is just not thought through, right? Like, if he's doing it from a fan's perspective, he really has to go talk to a Homer. And the Homer would tell him, you got to do Naked City. You got to do Charisma. You got to do Radioactive. You got to do
and how great
Ladies
would
in
that be?
Waiting, right?
How much would you pay to be in that audience?
Do Burn Bitch Burn because you haven't done it forever.
Yes.
That kind of stuff. But he's not asking a Homer. And
but you know what? His whole band is Homers. His whole band loves Kiss. I will guarantee it that Tishy is miserable having to play that. I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong, but he wants to play. He's a Kiss freak, just like the rest of us. He wants to play Charisma and Mr. Blackwell and all this stuff that nobody ever gets to hear.
Yeah, I don't know why you would do the covers. The covers are stupid.
It's lazy.
That's just dumb.
It's lazy.
Ace of Spades is lazy.
I almost think
Brent there. Ace of Spades is lazy.
Joe, I almost think I gotta say I don't think it's lazy. I think he's trying to be smarter than he needs to be. He's trying to be cool and hip, and I'm going to do all these weird, cool covers, and it's going to be great. That's not what people want.
Brent, any chance when he signs up to do this festival says you got to do 3 covers minimum because people don't know your songs?
I doubt they're in a position to do that. That's I think you sign Gene, he probably says I'm playing a Kiss songs and classics, and they go, yep, here's your check.
It's a name that'll draw.
That's right.
Ticket sales.
He didn't have to do what we want him to do because people will. What's that wrestling term when you geek out or whatever? What's that?
Mark out.
Yeah. People. There you
go.
I knew I was talking to the right guy.
Yeah,
people mark out over it. No matter what, they pay anyway.
When you hear House of Pain, you'll know why Van Halen didn't do it. Trust.
Yikes.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more thing. Rex, who's watching right now, Rex is watching the show. He sent me a message earlier. I don't think we've ever talked about this on the show, but his message said, "Hey, Joe, how's it going? I saw something about a band Vinnie Vincent was in called Warrior. There's a company going to release this band stuff in October. I never heard of the band. Do you know anything about it?" I remember we mentioned it on the show years ago. Do you guys know anything about Warrior? I know you could. I think you could listen to it on YouTube.
It's been released before in two forms.
You have this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys explain what it is exactly.
It's who else is in the band? Sorry, Sonny. Help me out.
New England people.
Yeah, that's right. It's a couple of the guys from New England, and from which did Paul produce their record?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought. Yeah, and that's how they're connected. And it's pretty good stuff. There's 2 or 3 really great songs on it. There's not enough material to stretch it into all that they've released before. I think there's like a single CD version, and then there's even a double CD version that's got everything out of the studio vaults, and some of it's good stuff, but that has all been released. And I think on the radio show we did a special broadcast on it and featured it and played a bunch of tracks from it before, I recall.
Yeah, I've had it for a while.
All that Warrior stuff is, you could even go to Spotify. It's on Spotify. Yeah. And a lot of it is Vinnie Vincent Invasion songs before they were, tweaked to be Vinnie Vincent Invasion songs, like Boys Are Gonna Rock and Baby O and Back on the Streets. And I think even a couple of songs that Vinnie wrote, that Tears and, all that stuff, like some of the John Waite stuff. And it's okay. They're great songs. Vinnie sings a lot of it, I think. And it's just, it's not what you'd expect from Vinnie. It's not typical overproduced Vinnie. It's like, I guess it's late 70s. Do we know what the years? I'm not even sure. Early 80s, maybe, right?
Yeah, so it's early 80s because some of these guys end up in Alcatraz later.
Yeah.
And this was, remember the story about Vinnie standing on the toilet seat with his guitar so they couldn't tell he was in the bathroom because they came and took all his shit during the tour? That was these guys, because these guys were suing him for taking all of those songs and not giving any of them credit.
Wow.
There has been drama between these guys ever since they split. First of all, who doesn't Vinnie have drama with? But there's been drama with these guys. Shay's been out there saying all that shit from Vinnie Vincent Invasion, that he had a hand in writing all that shit and didn't get any credit for that stuff.
Wow.
And so, Joe, maybe this new release is the first time it's ever been on vinyl or something like that. Because is that what this is?
I don't know. I got it late, so I hadn't had a chance to read it. Rex down there in the chat room, he knows a little more than I do. So, and he sent me the article. I just didn't have a minute because it was late. We just got home. So, okay, but he actually sent it a while ago. But I was at a play. Drinking my tea, and anyway. Okay, so we're obviously gonna find it. It's a 3 CD set, he says.
Oh, okay. So maybe they found even more.
Yeah, it looks like demos of, it's like, here's a song without a vocal, here's the demo version, here's the demo version with the first drum. It's that kind of
It's just what we needed.
Yeah, exactly what we needed from Vinnie.
I'm going to take all those stems and make my own mix of the album.
Yes. And then get a cardboard box and put it in there, and then call it the Vinnie Vincent box set. And you can say, hey, look at that. And then mail one to Sonny, because he still hasn't got his. And anyway.
Say that's been done, now, right?
For Adam, there's a message out there that supposedly Vinnie put out that said Vinnie Vincent Invasion right now is Vinnie Vincent, Faisal, and 2 people they've recruited. And that's the band that's going to do stuff, whatever stuff means. So supposedly Faisal's still in the band as of yesterday. But I don't know if that's still true.
Well, no, I'm not really sure about that, Brent. Joey, have you heard anything?
Listen. I don't know if it's Faisal or Fossil. He's an incredible singer, and I will tell you, I heard a little something that they did together, and it is mind blowing. It's great. It's old. I mean, I love the first Vinnie record. I love it. So, and I like the second one too, but the first one to me is just almost perfect. It sounds just like it could be on the first record.
Don't tease us.
We'll see.
What's interesting is Vinnie didn't like Robert, didn't like Mark. Faisal sounds just like those two, so I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know. Maybe he says yes more than the others do.
Maybe.
Sometimes that's how it works. All right. So thank you guys for mailing in that. Rex, you're awesome as usual. And I see that there's a few new names in the chat room. How you guys doing? Thank you for being here. Hang in there. Get involved in the show. We love it when you do. Let's go ahead and get to the topic of the week.
Podcast Rock City Topic of the Week.
Anyway, topic of the week. You there?
We're here.
I got lost for a second. I'm sorry. Something's going on with my computer.
Joe, you're all thrown off ever since you took that sweatshirt off, Joe. You're all discombobulated.
I
wonder what's causing this.
I don't know. Hold on. My computer is not allowing me to. Okay. You can see me and you can hear me. That's all that matters.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the AC/DC shirt.
I think you're right.
What is happening?
Joe, take that AC/DC shirt right off on camera and go half naked, right for the rest.
Nobody wants to see that.
Come on.
He has enough tattoos. He doesn't need a shirt.
It's like it won't open up the screen. All right. Anyway, oh my God. I swear I'm not. This is what happens when I don't have a producer. All right. KISS 7475. That's what we're going to talk about today. I have to turn a light on because I have the amazing Kiss Alive Forever book here. You guys see that all right? Because I have no way of telling.
Joe, I'm not familiar with these years. If you don't have your notes in front of you, how are we going to get through the show? I'm not liking this.
You're picking on me, and I can take it. All right. Anyway, so KISS. The thing about the band is that the early years, now me personally, when I hear that, the first few albums sold 175,000 or 250,000 records, to me, that's a lot. But to a record company, that's not crap, right, Joey?
No.
Not in those days.
You are not getting a long-term deal with selling 175,000 records. Back then, now that's like golden right now.
Top of the chart.
Yeah, you would
right behind Taylor Swift.
You would be number one on the charts with something like that. But no, back then, you want to hit gold at the very least. And then when the 80s came, even gold was no good. If you were on platinum, you were getting dropped. And it's listen, it has a lot to do with record labels are, they're thieves. They're charging so much money for the producers and the engineers and the studio time. And, oh, you guys ordered lunch. It was $17,000 for lunch this week. But it's all inflated bullshit, because if people don't know, whatever you spend on a record, you have to give that money back to the label. The label's fronting it as an advance, but you owe that money to the label. So the bands are not keeping track really well. So they're just overspending. And for the label to make their money back, they need to sell X amount of records, and that's not getting it done back then.
Right. Brent, you have a little bit of experience in this too, right? So
sure.
What in 1973, 74, when KISS put out a record, what did it cost the label? Listen, guys, I have to go out of this room and come back in because it's not allowing me to. So what would it normally cost, Brent?
It depends on whether you do it the right way or the wrong way. Sometimes, like with Dress to Kill, they didn't hire a real producer, so that's a huge expense. I mean, KISS had bills with this, and the truth is, if they were on Warner Brothers, what it was costing to do these Kiss records would be a drop in the bucket. It's no big deal. But it's because really this is a self-financed operation for Kiss. You know, it's everything that Bill was doing and everything that was being done at Casablanca, and both of those were pretty much brand new enterprises, both pretty much self-funded. So that's why it had to work. And it wasn't just that they had to work. Casablanca as a label had already bet on some other records that really didn't work. And so they were kind of behind the 8 ball from the beginning. And that none of, as Joe said, none of this that I'm saying is because I was around at the time. It's all just some reading. But yeah, so that's, but, you know, like Joey was saying, every move you make, it costs money. The record label's very glad to front that, but it's all recoupable. And if you think what they're charging you to recoup is what they paid for it, that's a joke. They've got the limos on a very cheap retainer, but they charge you inflated rates. And it all stacks up. And then to make that back, it's not, oh, so we spent, $150,000 making your record. You need to recoup. You need to sell $150,000 worth of records. The band's 18%, 20%, whatever they're getting off of selling that $5 or $7 record, that percentage has to add up to the total. Not to get into a bunch of boring math and accounting, but that's the truth of it. Is but that it puts them in a horrible situation.
Would Warner Brothers or one of the bigger companies, they wouldn't have courted a novelty band because they were probably looking at Kiss going, that's a novelty thing. We don't need that.
Well, that's why Neil grabbed them, because Neil was actually a novelty distributor, producer. I mean, his past hits were not actual novelty records. I mean, not really totally goofy novelty records, but just kind of bubblegum type stuff, one and done type groups. And so, you know, I think that, I mean, if Warner Brothers had wanted Kiss and liked what they did and signed them, that this was back in the day when they believed in artist development. They would have said, you know, let's give these guys 4 or 5 records to find their feet, and then we'll get somewhere. But, you know, they took one look at them and thought they were clowns. Yeah. So
that's crazy. So let me tell you guys, so the first Kiss tour is called Kiss Tour in this book, okay? They did 84 shows, started in December 31st, New York.
Of 73, right?
Of 73. And that obviously was the show where they opened for, I think, Blue Oyster Cult, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
You have the book. Why are you asking that?
It's the Academy of Music show. Blue Oyster Cult was the headliner. Anyway, so let me tell you guys some of the bands, because this is crazy. So the headlining acts for this tour were 10ccs, Aerosmith, Argent, Billy Preston, Blue Oyster Cult, the all-new Fleetwood Mac, Iggy and the Stooges, James Gang, Kathy McDonald, Manfred Manns, Earth Band, Nazareth, the New York Dolls. And then they headlined some of it as well. And of course, you have Rush in there, and Wizard, Thunderhead, Flying Saucer, Flood. Anyway, the names are awesome.
But none of those are big names, so those have been all club dates.
Right. Aerosmith I don't think they were big at that point. They were headlining. They were headlining though. Yeah. And then Blue Oyster Cult. So the average attendance was 2,700. For 73, is that respectable?
A small theater, right?
But for their mid-level. For their first tour. Now you got to remember when did they start? Early 73 playing, you know, the basic club scene right in New York. So a year later, doing a tour with an average attendance of almost 3,000, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I've said this before. The only way I'm playing in front of 3,000 people is I bring my guitar to a Braves game. I'll walk in, strum the guitar, and say I played in front of 40,000.
You know, the
does
other
that count?
With I don't know if that counts. The other thing with back then, you know, with Kiss being on the road, and you know, you got to say to yourself, well, why did Casablanca even let them go 3 records if they're losing all this money and they're not selling well? It's because their live show was taking off and there was that underground buzz. They weren't selling records, but Kiss was doing well. So it's not like they were flopping. They were flopping as far as record sales go. But from what Bill Aucoin said, I don't even know if Casablanca was giving them tour support at this time. Bill, you know, through all the interviews we've ever seen, he did everything on his American Express, right?
He paid for all of it. They toured in a station wagon. I think they each, you know, got $28 a week or something like that, and they were, you know, eating Chef Boyardee out of the can cold and but just surviving.
A big deal. That's a big deal to have, you know, have your manager lay out that kind of money to do for your tour support, where it really should have been coming from the label. I bet you if it was coming, all that money coming from the label, maybe Kiss doesn't last the 3 records. Maybe Casablanca drops them after Hotter Than Hell. I don't know. I mean, there was a buzz happening, but you don't know how much, you know, money they were willing to eat at that point. And Bill, by doing what he did, funding all those tours, probably gets Kiss to that, you know, that alive record to, you know, break.
Is it possible this bullshit? Is it possible that it was selling and Casablanca was lying? Because that happened to the Babies, right? They had 3 albums out, and John Wade's like, "Where's all the money?" Like Chrysalis, are you ever going to pay us? Or you don't sell any records? How can we be not selling any records?
Well, in fact, what Casablanca was doing, and the reason they were on such a just rapid fire release schedule, is because they wanted to have a forthcoming release on the schedule so that people didn't return the records that were sitting on the shelves in the record stores. And that was their strategy, is to keep people from returning the previous record that's already shipped out but hasn't sold yet. I mean, it's considered sold by the label, but it's actually just left the distribution warehouse and is sitting in retail. And to keep the first one from coming back, Hotter Than Hell's got to come right away. And then to keep those records from coming back, Dressed to Kill's got to come right away. It was, at some point, the chain's got to break. It's almost like a Ponzi scheme.
Have you guys seen the movie? And Brent, I don't even have to ask you. I guarantee you have. The Spinning Gold movie. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, I finally saw it.
You seen it, Brent?
No, I have not seen it yet.
You know about it though, right?
Is that the Neil Bogart
story
biopic?
of Casablanca? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would have thought you saw it. It okay. So I don't know how much of what they tell on there is, you know, real or true. It seems like it's a mixture, you know, or like at the beginning of the movie, it takes an immediate turn because I think Kiss is on stage playing a song that I don't think even got released for, you know, a few years. But one of the things about them was they really seem to paint Kiss, or Gene and Paul at least, as like real hard asses when it came to Neil Bogart and even Aucoin. And, you know, started talking about they wanted, you know, I want $1 million, that kind of thing. This was the conversations that they're showing them have. And I like I said, I don't know how much of the movie is close to accurate or accurate. If you guys haven't seen that, it's a fun watch just as a movie, just because it's told like Neil Bogart is telling the story. So he talks to the camera quite a bit and stuff like that. But I recommend it just because it's fun. It doesn't just, it focuses a bit on Kiss. It feels like mostly Donna Summer. You say the same thing, Sonny?
Yeah, because she was saving the label. So Disco really kind of, the initial part of Disco helped Casablanca hang on even longer than they probably should have hung on. But Casablanca had kind of, I think Brent mentioned it, they had their toe in a lot of different places. And you hear about, especially in the 80s, where there was record companies that go, all right, all the rock's got to go. We're only going to do this, or all the R&B's got to do. We're only going to do this. I think record companies, at least the smaller ones, figured out we can't dip our toe into everything. You can't be an expert in everything. And I think that's what Casablanca was trying to do.
So before we talk about the songs, the record, the songs on it, I wanted to mention one other thing that happened. April 29th, 1974, they did the Mike Douglas show. And everyone, I remember the first time I saw that, which was not 1974. I remember seeing it on video, and when Gene started talking, I didn't have a word for it then, but I cringed. Did the same thing happen to you guys when you saw it the first time? Did you go, whoa, this is a guy that is not used to talking to people kind of feel, Sonny?
I just saw it as part he was in character. But you got to remember, I didn't see these videos until after I saw Blackie Lawless talking. And, some of those guys that were during the hearings. And he just seemed, he seemed a little bit in character, a little bit uncomfortable. Then later on, when you see later on videos, almost seems a little more sleazy than Monster. Then later on, he's trying to become more businessman than Monster. Like, it was kind of weird.
That's true. It's weird. What about you, Brent? The first time you saw this, when he was like, I'm looking at all these necks.
He was trying real hard. He seemed to be like wanting to do like a Bela Lugosi vibe or something like that. I get it, and it could have worked, and he just never really perfected it. Kind of like he's trying to kind of channel the Alice Cooper kind of thing almost.
Yeah.
Well, from the rumors, they weren't supposed to go out for an interview. I remember reading something where they were backstage and someone came back, like the showrunner or something, was like, hey, Mike wants one of you to come out to talk. And all of them were like, nope. But Gene was like, okay, I'll do it. And so, Kiss, especially then with Sean Delaney and Bill, I think they would have been way more prepared for that had they known they were doing an interview, because Gene definitely was not prepared, didn't really have his shtick down yet, didn't have the character down, didn't try to sell anything, didn't try to sell the band. But seriously, if they would have had time to know that they were going out there for an interview, I guarantee you, Bill and Sean, who still were the driving force behind Kiss back then, would have had that interview scripted.
Could you imagine? If you want me to go away, buy my record.
Yeah, it would have been great.
It would have made sense. All right, so listen to this set list, you guys. Okay. Oh man, mine it's cut off. Okay, so you guys are about to freak out on me. What's the opening track on Kiss? I can't even think of
Strutter?
Strutter, yes. Okay.
Good
so well, I'm missing that in my thing. Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Let Me Know, Deuce, the love theme from Kiss, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond. Of course, Kiss in Time came later. I got fuzzled from earlier, and my brain isn't working.
I don't know. Bye-bye. I don't know if that set list really can compare with Gene's set list, opening with weapons of mass destruction and going into,
that's not the set list. That's the exact order of the first album.
That's the record.
I think you do.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's a track list
on the record. That's a track listing. Yeah. The set list that they would play seems to be still amazing. Deuce, Strutter, Firehouse, She, Nothing to Lose, Cold Gin, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, and then Acrobat at the end. I mean, if Gene did that show,
don't forget that
take my money.
In the earlier days, they had Life in the Woods in the set, all that stuff, right?
Oh, right, the pre-Kiss.
That would be an idea. Is Gene goes every show he does, He's like, guys, tonight we're going to do September 19th, 1975. We were at Winterland, and we are going to do that set front to back. Brian, go.
Holy shit.
People would shit their pants.
Amen.
And he does a different date every night.
That's genius.
Oh, damn.
That
Instead,
is
we're getting, fucking Carpenter covers and stuff, whatever the hell he's playing.
I know one person right now that is watching this show that would love to see Gene sing a Carpenter cover. So, all right. These are all the core Kiss songs, though, right? That first record, except for Kiss in Time, it's and Love Theme from Kiss. These are all songs that probably were played in the first show, and some of them at least, all the way to the end, or at least close to the end. That's the thing about that first record. Let's talk about the record cover. The story is that the guy that took the picture thought that they were really clowns, brought in balloons and whistles and llamas and an elephant and dancing monkeys. I don't know if any of that's true. I made that all up, but they really wanted them to pose, but they let Peter let them change his makeup. Can you imagine if they were so green that they were like, oh, balloons? Okay. Can you imagine that? Brent?
The first time that I saw it, I remember I didn't know the music. I didn't know Kiss. I didn't know any of that. Saw it in my friend's older sister's record collection. And we were just looking at all her albums, and we did not realize that was supposed to be the band on the cover. We just thought it was a picture of, it was the 70s. There's some pretty weird album covers out there. And we just thought it was some guys on the front with weird makeup. It did not click that A, that this is the band, and B, that they wear that makeup all the time. With no frame of reference, it didn't make sense.
Sonny, the first time you saw that record, you had already seen them without makeup before you ever saw them with makeup.
Yeah. So first makeup record I see is Dynasty. So by the time I see this record, I'm like, oh, the makeup was different back then. And was Ace a girl? Maybe they had a girl Ace at one point, right? You can't really tell. And then I remember thinking, oh, Paul's makeup didn't change much, but man, Peter's makeup changed big time, right? If I would have saw this in 74, I'd have been like, all right, that's a pretty interesting shit. And I would have thought they were 1974's Ghost. And maybe I don't listen to it. Maybe I don't give it a shot. Who knows? Because this does not tell me these are pop songs that I can sing along with. That is not what this cover says to me.
Yeah, listen, it's an iconic cover now looking back because we all know it. But I can't even imagine in 1974 not only seeing this in a store and wanting to buy it, or can you imagine being in one of the smaller clubs and these guys walk out like this? I can't imagine liking it. It took so much balls to do what they did. And it worked. I don't know. I honestly don't even know how it worked, but it worked. And, by the time I'm seeing Kiss, it's different. It's 79. They're the biggest thing in the world. They're superheroes. But seeing these guys in black leather in 1973 walking to the stage at the Daisy, can you imagine what you're thinking? Obviously there's no kids in the bars or clubs like that, but even the people that are there, I think the first reaction would be to laugh. Today's day and age, you have Ghost and you have all these other bands because Kiss paved the way and Alice Cooper before them. But back then, I don't know if that stuff was really happening. You had, the dolls and you had that type of makeup going on, but nothing goth like this, I don't think anyway, right?
That was dangerous. It was weird.
Alice Cooper would have been it. That was for me. It's all I know. So let me ask you, because I don't think I ever asked you this, Brent. When was the first time you ever saw Kiss?
on the Alive tour in November.
Really? That's awesome.
So November of 75, something like that.
Do you have like a real vivid memory of that? Of like seeing that, or
just 2 or 3 like moments from the show? Like I even have a memory of like I don't even know that they really did this, but I think because they played Firehouse and Paul came out with a fireman's helmet on, or like a toy version of a fireman's helmet or something. I remember thinking like, oh, he slid down a fire pole, but I don't think he really did that, just like,
well, that'd have been awesome.
Stuff like that, yes. So no, it's one of those things that was one of the first shows I saw. My friend's older sister took us. We were, far and away the youngest. It was pre-Super Kiss, pre there being, what you would consider preteens, what you would consider kids in the crowd, and so it was really different. And it was one of the first, I think prior to that, I'd only seen a jazz concert and a Beach Boys concert. So I thought this was like when you went to see a rock concert, this is what people did,
Right.
So
interesting.
That was, kind of started at the top in a way.
Oh, that's a cool story. I don't think I ever asked you that. All right, let's move on to Hotter Than Hell. Hotter Than Hell. That tour was 1974, October 17th, 1974 to February 22nd, 1975. In Canada and the U.S., 53 shows, headlining acts: Black Oak, Arkansas, Dr. John, Foghat, Golden Earring, JoJo Gunner, Quicksilver Messenger Service, Speedwagon, Rush, headlined, Wishbone Ash, ZZ Top. Notice the names are bigger. And then when they were headlining, I don't recognize very many. T-Rex, UFO. I mean, I'm not a music guy like you guys would recognize a lot of these.
Yeah, those are UK bands. So
yeah.
What's the average attendance on this tour, Joe?
4,000.
Yeah.
So
bigger.
Again, you're jumping up over another 1,000. 1,300.
In 1 year, they went so far, to where, and the difference too is in those first tours, they're opening, and it's not a full house, even in the smaller places. And in the, in just a year of grinding it out in a pretty tough situation, they still weren't making any money. They were still touring in kind of not so great circumstances as far as their transportation and everything that was provided to them. The support was difficult, but they're going out there and seeing sold out,
Look, they're asking about your Archie bunker. Yeah. He's at my house. He's actually
in my
right
sitting
above
room
me.
At my house in Houston. It is. I still have it.
He's here in Georgia. And I don't know if I mentioned 53 shows is what they did. So it's also a shorter amount of time.
I never really heard stories about, obviously Casablanca is a new label, right? So how are they getting on these big tours? What's KISS doing? Are they just buying onto the tours? That's never, obviously they've never been talked about, because I would assume KISS and the camp doesn't want anyone to know they bought onto those tours. But I would think that they, especially the first tour, they had to buy onto a lot of those legs of those tours for those opening bands. I can't just see Casablanca's a new label, A Coin's basically a new manager. How are they getting on to these tours?
Time out. Because I don't have any idea what that means. Buying onto a tour means what?
It means exactly what it sounds like. Bands pay to be on tours, meaning they might pay $500 a show to tour with this band for the next 20 dates. And they don't get paid. They don't get money. Maybe they sell some merch and stuff, but they're not getting paid. And that's a big thing today. A lot of bands, these co-headlining tours where you see at the bottom of the bill, a couple bands that are lesser known or maybe even unknown, they buy on. And I'm talking about from the biggest tour that you know of going on right now, all the way to the smallest tour. Small tours that do clubs with whatever it is, LA Guns or the Bullet Boys or something headlining. And I know they don't sound like big headliners, but those bands to make their money, they don't get big guarantees. So they have smaller upcoming bands buy onto the tour.
Wow, this is why Kiss was getting so much shit, because it's like you're doing the end of the road tour. You've been touring the last 10 years. You could have let all these bands buy on and make money. You didn't have to pay them, but you don't want to take anybody out, and nobody understood why.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So what would it cost? Let's say right now. So let's say back then it was $500 to buy onto a tour. What would it cost to buy onto like a Kiss tour? Now, thousands and thousands.
Outrageous money.
And again,
a major label backing.
Right. You're talking about a label backing you. Oh, you need $5,000 a show for us to open for you on this leg of the tour. Here you go. Here's $50,000. We want these 10 shows.
Here's a question. Joey, as a recording musician, is it still possible for bands to put out 2 albums a year like early Kiss did from 74 to 78? Both Brent, you guys could all answer that, actually.
Shit, George Lynch puts out 8 albums a year.
I mean, if anything, it's easier nowadays.
It's easier now.
Faster. Record it at home and throw it on Spotify. But is that really releasing an album, you know?
Well, that's the bigger question is, why would you want to? Because then the record was your biggest form of income. As far as record was your merch. That was what you were selling on the road. You were trying to sell your record in that town, maybe not physically at the show, but you drive into Cleveland and the local record store has the Kiss album on out, and you go play these venues around that local, area, and hopefully the kids go out the next day and buy that record. So that's what you're doing. Nowadays, you're not making money off the album sales because everything is streaming. You're not going to tour around a record because you're not selling those records anymore. So there's no reason to really do that anymore.
Yeah, that's where the whole tour support concept came from, is if we give these guys some money and put them on the road, and our publicist hooks them up that when they roll into Cincinnati, they do some interviews on the radio and interviews with the newspaper, and they play the show and they get the kids talking, and we make sure that the record stores there are well stocked with the album, we're going to sell records in Cincinnati. And that was why they did it. It was to help move the records. And I mean, now I don't think labels even know what they're trying to move or what they're doing.
And that's why back then a concert was $8 to go to, and now it's $500, because when you go see a band, that's the only form of income is that show. So if the band is going into town and they're demanding a guarantee of, let's just say, $50,000, which is that's a low guarantee. If a band is demanding, here's my guarantee, I need $50,000 to come play your club at such and such date, the club owner goes, you got it. And then he's got to put tickets on sale based on how many number of people he could fit on that place, based on how much money he's going to sell for each ticket to make that $50,000 back. There's no record sale. So the band can't go and say, we'll come play your club for $1,000 because we're going to sell X amount of records and make all that revenue. That whole revenue stream is gone.
That's crazy. Let's talk about the record. Another record with a lot of great songs. Got to Choose, Parasite, Going Blind, Hotter Than Hell, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, All the Way, Watching You, Mainline, Coming Home, and Sonny's favorite, Strange Ways.
I don't have a problem with Strange Ways. That's not the one I have a problem with.
That's why I said. That's why I said. All right, Sonny, which one? Still, though, a strong record from these guys. And obviously so here's the thing. As fans, of course we think this is a strong record. Of course, right? We hear them. We understand what they're trying to do when we listen to their record. It's a rock and roll band. They're not trying to be fancy. they're just trying to be rock and roll, right? So this record still didn't sell a whole lot. Do you think the cover was scaring people, or do you think their sound was? Brent?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to say for sure. I think that people who saw them live went and maybe wanted to check their records out. And part of the problem of why the records weren't selling is the records didn't really reflect the live show yet. We like those songs. We love those songs, but they maybe didn't have the energy or the intensity of the live show as what wasn't. They weren't really able to convey that on the records well. And yeah, I think I love the cover for Hotter Than Hell, but it is confusing. It's like, is this a Japanese record? Is it a Japanese band? Is it an import album? I didn't see it until much later, and I didn't hear it until later. I mean, I love the record, but it still didn't click. For whatever
Sonny,
reason.
If you were the first time you ever saw Kiss, the first time you ever saw them, walked into that record store like you did that one day, flipping through some CDs or records or whatever, and you saw Kiss like with the makeup on and stuff, would you have immediately went, I want to listen to that? Or would you have went, next?
It's next. I don't think either album cover helps it sell. To be honest, all it does is either confuse people or scare people. So the album cover's not helping, radio's not helping. Who knows if the record store's playing it? So the folks who get it are the folks who've seen them live, right? And if they've played 150 shows for 5,000 people each, you do the math, and those are the people that get it. And they're going to go buy the record no matter what. And I get it that the record isn't giving what the live feel is yet. But you wouldn't know that until you heard the record, so you would already bought it by then. The record cover doesn't tell you, come buy me. It says, I don't know what I am. Don't bother wasting your time with me until you figure it out.
So let me ask you this, Joey. Why do you think that? We talked obviously about the fact that I Was Made for Loving You hit 1 billion plays, right, on Spotify. So here's the question. Why do you think this early Kiss stuff never got played on the radio? I can't say that when I listen to this and think of the songs that are in that period, rock and roll wise, that it doesn't fit in. Do you think so?
I think it's a couple reasons. I think most radio stations considered Kiss a gimmick band. They didn't even think of listening to any of the songs, never mind playing them. I think they thought it was a gimmick band. It was a image type thing. Plus, especially Hotter Than Hell, we all know sounds like crap. It's so muddy. Everyone says, oh, but look what year it is. Guys, go put on Zeppelin 2. It doesn't sound muddy. It sounds great. So Hotter Than Hell is a tough sell because the songs just don't sound good. And you also got to remember these are kids. They're not great in the studio yet. So they don't know what they're doing yet either. They're not tweaking their sounds or they're playing. Hotter Than Hell doesn't sound what Kiss sounded like, right?
Well, in 1975, the bands you heard on the radio were on major record labels with huge push behind them, including lots of nice payola for the DJs and other people at the radio stations, sometime in the form of Little White Powder. And
right.
Kiss didn't have the pockets to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think if you want the radio station to play it, the record they get just says Kiss on the outside. It's got no face paint. You don't know what the guys look like, nothing. And force the DJ to drop a needle on it to understand what it is versus making a determination off a picture. Because I think they were looking at it going, hey, this picture is cool. People will wonder what this is. Not understanding that people make a determination of what the music is without even listening to it because of the picture. You do the picture later on in life. Like by the time they do Animalize, we're given a hard time about the stupid fucking album cover. What the hell are you doing? You should have done that the first two albums, not in the middle of your run.
listen, I think hindsight, you're probably right, Sonny. I think not showing their faces to record radio stations probably would have helped. But in their mind and the label's mind, I think they're thinking the opposite. We're going to shock everyone. Soon as they see this picture of this band, they're going to go, what is this about? And press play, where I think it backfired on them. Yeah. And plus, listen, Brent said it, payola was, and listen, it still is a very big thing. Trust me. Payola is a very big thing when you see bands on the charts and stuff climbing those charts fast, and you're like, who the hell is this band? Payola, my friend. That's how they're climbing up the charts. So back then, if you didn't pay off the radio stations, you're at least going to the bottom of the list.
And then how they did that was they shipped you the record, and when you opened up the package, there was gifts inside it.
They had guys whose job it was to go around and stop at the radio station and slide baggies across the desk.
Wow.
Casablanca is almost, you got to think of it as like an independent label at this point. They're not keeping up with Warner and all. They don't have these they're literally guys, like Brent said, that work the record. That's all they do is work the record on radio. And they go from city to city, go to every radio station, whether it's with their little white baggie or their checkbook or cash, whatever it is. And they're going in personally to meet every DJ and talk to them and smooth things over, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so
and they weren't in it.
So they weren't. They were cheap. They were cheap. Well, they weren't paying, or
they didn't have the money. They had major label distribution, so the records were in the stores. But there was really only so much. Even then, what you find out when you read the books, when you look back at it, the label thought they were a joke, and the label didn't want to distribute them anymore. They couldn't wait to shove this back on Neil and get rid of it.
Right. Okay. Let's go on. Dress to Kill. So another record comes out. Dress to Kill. It's like less than 30 minutes long, right? The record's less than 30 minutes long.
A minute between each song.
Yeah. They did 72 shows. March 19th, 1975, started in Pennsylvania to August in Indiana, and Indianapolis. Headlining acts: Black Sabbath, Golden Earring, Hunter Ronson, Johnny Winter, Marshall Tucker Band, Ozark Mountain Daredevils, Rare Earth, Uriah Heep, War, ZZ Top. Once again, the names are bigger.
What's the attendance?
The attendance is 6,000.
So we went from 27 to 4 to 6. It's big.
Yeah. And now at this point right here, though, even before Dress to Kill, they're still, when they go to Detroit, am I right? They're still playing, they're headlining bigger places. I mean, they're big in Detroit. Sure. It doesn't seem like anywhere else they are. It seemed like everything that I've ever read says Detroit got it from the beginning, what the band was trying to do. So when they would play everywhere else, these small, they're not headlining these big giant places, So you think about 6,000 people. That, how big is a place that holds these? Is like the Fox here, Brent?
I don't think that's even that big. These are 6,000 is a large theater or a small venue. In a lot of cities the size of it. I don't know what you have here in Atlanta, but there are all these new venues popping up that are just kind of maybe outside the city in the suburbs, and they hold 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. They don't hold the 10 and 12,000 that the giant sheds and amphitheaters do, or that the place where your city's basketball team might play does. But they hold about half that.
But if you think
it's a pretty big show.
6,000 people at 85 shows. every one of those people would have to buy an album for you to go gold. It's not enough shows.
Well, it just shows you that you have to have some kind of radio play. You got to have something more than just the people at the shows. And I think KISS did. Now they started to get, if there's 6,000 people at the show, how many of those people go and tell their friends
about what they saw?
I can't believe what I just saw. And that's how I think the next step happens. That's where it becomes explosive when the Alive album comes out. All the people that have seen KISS up to this point tell their friends and go, look, this is what I've been telling you.
Yeah.
Alive gets a lot of credit for saving them. I'm not sure Rock and Roll All Night gets enough credit for saving them. I think that helps too. That helps the ball rolling, and it goes into Alive. You got to have an anthem. They had it.
Right.
It works. But you never hear about Rock and Roll All Night saved them. It's always Alive saved them.
And but that came out as a single, like February,
Yeah,
March.
It was a single. Right, yeah.
But I don't even know, did that really get radio play? Maybe. I don't even know. Did that, you think, make that record take off? Was it a true single?
Yeah, but all you had to do was you would have had to give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
A commercial picks it up. Car commercial picks it up, or Pringles commercial, or I don't know.
Not back then they did.
Toilet
they
paper commercial.
Never put a rock song in a commercial in 1970.
Yeah, but a TV show could have picked it up, right? I mean, it could have been. It's too good and too simple not to get picked up by somebody at some point. But it gets like zero credit for doing anything, and I don't know if that's true.
Well, I think you have to have the anthem before you can go record it live. The song had to exist, so and then Alive was recorded in like May, June, July of the year.
Yeah, because they get pulled off the road, right?
Dress to Kill tour, right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, who knows? It could have easily have been, if they played it live, Anything for My Baby could have been the big hit, right, Joe?
Bam.
All right, so let's talk, before we get on to the songs, let's talk about one other thing that's really important here. April 1st, 1975, Burbank, California, NBC Studios, promoter NBC Productions, the set list: Deuce, Come On and Love Me, She, there's an Ace Frehley guitar solo, and Black Diamond. This is what it says in the book. This gig was the taping of KISS's appearance on NBC TV's The Midnight Special. Although KISS recorded Come On and Love Me, it was never aired. KISS had to be toned down and was asked that they not stick their tongues out or touch each other's knees during any choreographed moves. Deuce, She, and Ace's solo premiered on July 11th, while Black Diamond aired September the 12th. I mean, when you see this, it is amazing. This rock band. As a matter of fact, if you watch the crowd in the front, like when they're done with their set and Peter is knocking the drum set off the thing, and there are people that are standing up and they're like, yes, if you watch, at this point, did they have diehard fans, you think? I mean, or do you think that people are just going, this is anarchy?
Yeah. They have underground fans. What happens here is, all right, we can't go out there and play enough, so let's get on TV and go into everybody's house instead. I would tell you, I saw it a couple of weeks ago. They're a little hammy. It's a little over the top. Come on.
Oh my God.
But that was a completely new concept, though. I mean, to like put a
little over the top.
Put a rock band on TV like that.
I was about to say the opposite. I might go out on a limb and say it may be KISS at its absolute finest. It's the songs that they played the energy that's coming out of that TV must have been insane, because they're on fire on that performance.
They are.
And I know they had fans, like Sonny said, underground fans or whatever you want to call it. My friend's older sister, the girl who took us to the show, she had the first album. She bought Dress to Kill when it came out, and she was she was a college dropout, kind of. I thought of her as a hippie, and she loved music, and all her friends loved music, and they were all like, she had seen them in 74, and like all of her friends and her boyfriend and whatever were like, this is, everyone's got to go see this band. They're the greatest band you're ever going to see, is what
that's great.
They were saying.
Okay, so the songs on the record: Room Service, Two Timer, Ladies in Waiting, Getaway, Rock Bottom, Come On and Love Me, Anything for She, Love Her All I Can, Rock and Roll All Night.
Fantastic record. To me, one of the best Kiss records. And the production on it, I actually love. I know, obviously, we finally get rid of Kerner and Wise, and Bogart produces this. Obviously, it's mostly the engineer doing the work on this record, but I think this record sounds still today great.
Somebody asked a question earlier, Joey. Shouldn't the how we mentioned that didn't sound like Kiss? Shouldn't the engineers been able to do that, get the sound that they wanted?
Gotta have the right engineer.
You have time and money.
Of course, right. It's the right guys. Kerner and Wise obviously completely missed the boat the first record, and they were probably told, "Hey guys, this is not what this band sounds like. This band sounds heavy." So they were like, "Okay, let's turn down all the treble. Whatever we make the sound make it sound muddy." And they went that way. They had no idea what they were doing. No idea.
Yeah. Dress to Kill, the album is so good that when you ask people what's the best song of the record, you get all kinds of different answers. That's how good that album is.
Yeah. Agreed.
Love it. It's
wow.
Always up there at the top, often one of my favorites. Couple of my favorite Kiss songs of all time on it, and just it's unique because it's kind of underproduced. There's a simplicity to it that works, and I love how a lot of the guitar is doubled with acoustic guitar. That I think they did it because it was simple and something that probably the engineer knew how to set up and that they could do, but it made a huge difference in the way it sounded. I love it.
So,
and no producer, and there's not no producer by choice. Like, this is a good move, this is what we want to do. It's because they didn't have any money. I think they still owed them money from the second record. That's why they wouldn't come back. Something like that.
So they did 87 shows. So the next record is Alive. They did 87 shows, September 10th in 1975 to March 28th, 1976. The only headlining act, anybody know?
The only headlining act that they
for
went
that
out
tour.
with?
They opened for someone on that tour? Wow.
Sabbath?
Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Everything else is them headlining. So 38 Specials, Albatross, Artful Dodger, Atlanta Rhythm Section, REO Speed. I mean, it's Rush, Savoy Brown, Slade, Styx. I mean, and the total and the number of people now is 7,300.
And they're the headliner. They're the reason why people are there.
Yeah.
Or Black Sabbath, so they have
depending on how many shows 70, they did with Black Sabbath.
So beginning of 76, they have Kiss open for them. Beginning of 78, they have Van Halen open for them. Like Black Sabbath just draw the short straw every time they come to the U.S. Crazy.
So the Alive album, now they're touring for that, and then it breaks and it sells. Nobody really knows how much. I hear so many different numbers. I hear 3 million. I hear 5 million. I've heard 10 million. It's not 10 million. It's probably more like 4. What do you think, Sonny?
Well, first of all, they haven't paid to get it recertified, so you will never know. And then it depends on who you ask, because the double album is supposed to count as 2 albums, but some people count it as 1. So you're never going to get on the right number until they go to the RIAA and get it recertified. But
so if you're putting out
nobody's doing it.
Those are all numbers. So if you're
putting,
if you're putting out the real question is, what did it sell in the first 18 months? That's the question.
Right. So if you put a double album out and you sell 1 million, there's a chance they're counting it as 2 million.
It should be counted as 2 million. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, back then.
It's probably almost double the price too, Joe. Right? So, and it's cost double the print. So, I don't know. A band like Kiss, of all bands, how have they not gone back and paid to get recertified? All of these records, especially records like Alive, if there's a chance that it's a 10 million seller and it's a diamond record, my God, Kiss would be plastering that article everywhere, because that's all they're about. I can't believe that they have not gone back. And if they go back and they don't love the numbers, you just don't release those numbers. What's the difference?
So my guess is, if you wanted to go recertify, should have done it before you sold it to Universal, because it would have been worth more. Yeah. Now it's not worth doing, probably.
Well, maybe they did, and we're like, it's not going to pump our numbers any. Let's drop this line.
Oh yeah, that's possible too.
So they break. Alive is, depending on who what book you read, it was recorded all in Detroit or all in a bunch of different other places, and
or the studio
hodgepodge together. Forever, that record was thought of as a live record. And, of course, as kids, when we listened to it, it's live. But later on, I don't remember. I think it was when Kiss Ruled the World or something like, or Making the Band. One of those
VH1, but it was behind. It was like something about Just Alive. It was a VH1.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And Gene Simmons comes out finally and says, there's edits. There's, it's not 100% live. I'll tell you, the next morning I was at work and a representative from this music guitar company came walking in, and he was on his phone going, unbelievable. I watched it last night, and Gene said the whole record isn't live. I mean, that was the first time somebody ever walked into the store talking about Kiss since, forever. And somebody walked in on the phone, because that was a big deal, because it was almost like they portrayed the legends so well of the live show that when you drop that needle, you believe that's what I'm hearing. They just hit record and sat back, and that's what you got.
Listen, it's much of a live album as any other live album we've ever heard.
Right.
Every live album is fixed afterwards. Every live album. You're not leaving a giant flat note in there. You're not leaving, and Kiss, of all bands, because they are jumping around, the bombs, all that stuff that doesn't sound good on a recording. So you're going to go back in and tweak that stuff. The people who think, no, it's just Peter's drums, or it's just what. Guys, it's mostly live. They fixed all the little mistakes. Paul,
the intent was every vocal. Yeah, the intent was to give you a feeling of what Kiss sounds like live. The intent wasn't listen to how perfect we are live on record. Right? The intent was to give you a feeling to go buy a ticket and go see Kiss live. They fulfilled that intent
perfectly.
And they put the book in there with the pictures and all that stuff was helpful to the packaging. With the back cover, I remember I saw Kiss play the last show they played at Cobo Hall is what they called it at the time, but I think it was always Cobo Arena. And I remember I was like 15 rows from the stage. They were about to play Alive from beginning to end for the Alive 35 thing. I remember I was there for probably 20 minutes before I thought to myself, Joe, turn around. And then I turned around and I saw the back cover of the record. The guys were there that had the the two guys were there that had the sign. And I remember looking at it, and it was like, I can't even explain. It was so like, it didn't seem real, you know? And it sounded great. The crowd was louder than I'd ever heard a crowd at a Kiss show up to that point. And I just remember thinking, I'm in Detroit. You know, the funny thing is at this point there were camera phones, you know, I guess at this point. And I was with my friend Bob and Doug, and Bob snuck his camera in his pants. And when we got in, as soon as we walked through, there was a sign that said, no like lenses, no long lenses, but you can take all the pictures you want. And I remember thinking, Bob's, I don't want to hold your camera. We could have been taking pictures, but it was an amazing experience. Do you remember the first time you heard a live, Brent?
I don't really, actually, because kind of after that point was when I was kind of finding my own music, and we weren't like raiding my friend's older sister's record collection anymore and that kind of stuff. So it would have been a little later, maybe the following year in the fall, maybe.
What about you, Sonny?
I probably heard it late 80s because I was getting into live albums. I had Live After Death. I had Worldwide Live. I had Priest Live. So I was like, hadn't seen that many shows yet, but I was starting to see a lot of shows, so I was more interested in the live albums. So my guess is I probably get Kiss Alive and Alive 2 probably late 80s.
And Joey, you would have heard that record after you even saw them live.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly when I heard Alive. It was definitely after I saw them live in '79. Dynasty, Double Platinum was really my first record that I really listened to of Kiss. But I know once I heard Alive and then eventually Alive 2, I very rarely put on the studio records. The two live records were my go-to. Of course, I would put them on periodically, but Alive 1 and Alive 2 were my Bibles.
Yeah, I didn't get Alive until after I got Alive 2. I got Alive 2 way before on A-Track.
I might have heard Alive 2 first also.
Yeah, and I remember, so this kid, I moved here to Georgia. This kid came over to the house. He told me my dad is clearing out a bunch of stuff, and he had a few Kiss records, and I told him that you like Kiss, and he told me I could bring them to you, and that was the first time I held Alive. And I was like, great, come on in, let's put this on. And I remember listening to it and just being blown away and opening it up and reading the little letters, and, you know, it just, you sit back and you think about obviously records are what breaks the band. The live performances it's never that, right? It's always the record, the music, I would think. So and Kiss is completely the opposite. It took a recording of the live concert for people to go, of course it's this big. Of course they look that way. How about this? How about that? Of course they look like this. Listen to the show. It's nuts.
But I also think the same way the first album cover or two might have hurt Kiss, I think the Alive album cover and back cover did a lot to sell that record.
Yeah, 100%, because it's part of the whole feel, right? I was just thinking, by the time I pick up these albums, it's the late 80s. Dude, I'm picking these albums up for like $2-3 because Kiss is dead. This stuff is in the clearance bin.
Right. It's true.
You're right.
It's true.
But, with the cover, the first record or two or three, really, the first three records, you're just seeing the guys. The first one, you're only seeing their faces. Now that you see them with instruments in their hand, it's just a different vibe. I think it's a different feel. You're tying it all together. You're turning it over. You're seeing the giant crowd on the back. It becomes more like a real band for some reason. I think during that Alive record, not only because of the sounds and the tones, but because of that front cover, seeing them on stage behind a drum kit with the guitars in their hands, it just becomes more of a real band, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, you get the whole idea. You're like, okay, they actually wear the makeup. Okay, they're in these outlandish costumes. They're on stage. They actually play the instruments. It's like,
right,
you can't misinterpret it. Whereas with the first three, you're like, the third one could be the cover to a comedy album. It's like guys in suit. I love it. It's iconic. Right. But what the hell is it? You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you guys being here. Brent, man, it's so cool to see you. There's been quite a few comments where people are excited that you're here. Lee will be back next week. Hopefully with video of her performance. She's performing tonight. I think it might be a charity event that she's playing bass for with some bands. I think they mentioned some Maiden and a Kiss tune and some other stuff. So maybe we'll get that for the show next week. We're getting ready to go over to Patreon and jump on and do 20 minutes extra. And that's pretty much it. Sonny, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. So to answer Heavy Mayo's question, from 74 to 83, first of all, I'm ages 5 to 14. So you should have been hitting the books instead of watching the fucking TV like I was. And from 75 to 77, I was actually in India. So I missed the whole craze. I'm in India. So I don't know what the hell's going on. By the time I get back,
that's awesome.
Dead, so
why would you be in India?
My brother's being born, and the parents weren't ready for 2 kids, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, that's awesome.
Too bad he didn't stay there, right, John?
Oh my goodness. I'm not agreeing to that.
We're not still live, are we?
Yeah. Joey, do you have anything to add?
No, great time as always, Brent. Great seeing you. New ZO2 video just came out. Check it out. It's on YouTube, called Live Today. Great montage of, you ever wanted to feel like what it was like to be in ZO2 or be in a rock band. It kind of gives a real cool behind the scenes look of old cool footage over the years. It's a fun brand new song off the brand new record. Check it out. It's on my social media pages and YouTube.
And on Podcast Rock City's Facebook page. But go to Joey's YouTube and watch it, because then I don't know if he's monetized. If he is, great. That helps. Pays for everything. Brent, good to see you. What we got anything going on? Traveling.
Yeah, just traveling around with the family. Earlier this year, put out the second record from my ambient electronic space music project.
Do you have it in the room with you?
I have it right here next to me.
Oh my goodness. Where can everybody get it?
Bandcamp, Ice Planet 9000, Sequence 2. It's the sequel to the double album the triple album gatefold thing that we did before. Awesome. That I was on here for. So, but just great to be on the show, to see everybody. It's nice to hear the comments, and always got love for Podcast Rock City.
Absolutely. And you guys know what I'm going to say. We love Kiss, and we love Kiss podcasts. Most of them anyway. And you're going to hear the commercials for all the ones that we love right after this in 3, 2, 1.
Peace.